The house was quiet except for the faint ticking of the old clock in the hallway. I stood at the kitchen sink, hands submerged in soapy water, when my daughter's voice broke the stillness. "Mommy, it'll hurt down there if I sit." I turned around slowly, unsure if I heard her right. Her eyes, wide and glistening with unshed tears, stared up at me. Her tiny hands trembled as she clutched the hem of her shirt. "What did you say, sweetheart?" She hesitated, as though afraid of the words. "I spilled juice on the carpet," she whispered. And Paul got really mad. He said I had to learn, and he got his belt." The breath caught in my lungs. My vision blurred as her words painted a picture I refused to believe, but couldn't ignore. I dropped the dish and knelt down, gently turning her around. She flinched. I lifted her nightgown. Red, raw welts crossed her small thighs. Some had already begun to bruise. He beat her, and I let him into our lives. Paul, my husband of 3 years. Charming, successful, so composed in public. But behind closed doors, a man capable of hiding shadows so dark, I never thought to look for them. Or maybe I had, and I just didn't want to see. That night, I didn't confront him. I didn't scream or cry or pack my bags. I waited. I tucked my daughter in with the softest blankets I could find, kissed her forehead, and told her I loved her more than the moon and stars combined. Then I sat in the living room until Paul came home, reeking of scotch and entitlement. He looked at me with that casual, smug grin. "Stayed up for me?" I smiled. "Always. Because the thing about betrayal is that it cuts deeper when it comes from someone who was once your safe place. And I knew in that moment he was never mine. He had only ever been a mask I wore to feel normal." Rewind 3 years. I met Paul at a fundraiser. My ex-husband had just left me for a woman nearly half his age, and I was reeling from the collapse of everything I'd built. Paul, with his easy laugh and protective air, was a lighthouse in the storm. He brought stability, romance, and a kind of security I craved. He adored my daughter. At least, that's what he made me believe. But something changed after we married. He started correcting her too harshly. Then there were the punishments that didn't match the crimes. Early bedtimes, no dinner, standing in the corner for hours. He claimed it was discipline. "You're too soft on her," he said. "She needs structure." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe I was being paranoid. But bruises don't lie. And neither does the quiet flinch of a child. I started seeing someone 6 months ago. His name was Marcus. We met at the gym, of all places. I never meant for it to go anywhere. A shared smoothie turned into long conversations. Then a dinner. Then a kiss. Marcus made me feel seen again. Not just as a mother, or a wife, or a woman trapped in a glass box, but as myself. The me I hadn't been in years. He noticed things Paul never did. The way I bit my lip when nervous. The way I always rearranged the sugar packets by color. He noticed when I looked tired. When I was sad. He never pushed, only offered warmth. I told myself it was wrong. That I was cheating. That I was betraying the vows I took. But how do you betray something that was already broken? After that night, after I saw what Paul did to her, I stopped caring about secrets. I took photos of the bruises. I documented her testimony in a notebook. I kept receipts, calendars, timestamps. I wasn't planning to run. I was planning to destroy him. I met with a lawyer. A quiet woman with a stern mouth and fire in her eyes. She looked through everything I gave her and said, "We can build this. But you'll need to be brave. There will be questions, investigations, custody battles." "I'll walk through hell," I told her. "If it gets my daughter out of this." I stopped sleeping with Paul. Stopped kissing him. I smiled when I had to. Cooked when he demanded. But inside I was building an escape plan. The affair with Marcus didn't stop. It deepened. He knew the situation. Knew the risks. When I broke down one night in his car, sobbing, feeling like a failure of a mother and a woman, he just held me. He didn't say I was strong. He didn't try to fix it. He just let me feel. And sometimes, that's all we need. When I finally told him I was going to leave Paul, he said, "You're not alone." And I believed him. It took 2 months to put everything in place. On a Tuesday morning, Paul left for work. By noon, the police were knocking on his office door. By dinner, my daughter and I were living in a shelter under protective watch until court proceedings began. Paul tried to fight it. Tried to say I was vengeful, that I was mentally unstable, that I was an adulteress. And yes, I had cheated. I had crossed that line. But it wasn't guilt I felt. It was liberation. The judge listened to the recordings, the interviews, the photos. My daughter's voice, shaking but brave, recounting everything. Paul was sentenced to 18 months for child abuse and placed under supervised visitation for any future contact, which I was determined would be never. It's been a year since then. Marcus and I live together now. My daughter has her own room painted with clouds and stars. She's in therapy. Some nights she still wakes up crying. But most days she laughs freely. I know what people think when they hear my story. That I should have left earlier. That I should have protected her better. That cheating makes me just as bad. But they weren't there the night she whispered that sentence. They didn't see the bruises. They didn't feel the silence in our home like a blade at the throat. I don't regret saving her. And I don't regret choosing love when I needed it most. Sometimes, we break to be rebuilt. And sometimes the greatest act of love is choosing yourself, so you can be the mother your child truly deserves.